Good morning, Convo friends. Here's a little dispatch from my digital garden on this lovely Friday morning. As you might know, my digital garden, Mike.ai, is both my central collection of thoughts in all kinds of stages of completeness, I guess. And at the same time, it's also my testbed and experimentation ground for Claude Code. So on the front end here, not a lot has happened. If you look at, hey, when was my last publication date? That was 2 weeks ago. But that is because most of the work is actually going on right here at my desk. So this is the public facing front end of all the work that I'm doing. But I thought, why not record a video of what I've been working on for the last couple of days, which is solving a challenge that I've had all my life. Namely, hey, I read a lot, I browse a lot, and I save a lot of web links, mostly in my Signal, message to self. And after that, they just sit there and I don't do anything with them. I've tried Obsidian. Obsidian is just way too structured for my messy head. I've tried all kinds of bookmark and collection apps, but they only live on one ecosystem, so they're not very portable. So I thought, why not tackle that and see what I can do with Claude Code? And that resulted in what I call my Garden Ingest dashboard, which I coded with Claude Code, but which has an interface that's not conversational at all. So what you see here is basically my garden admin dashboard with an inbox tab. And what this inbox tab does, it shows me all the links that I've collected. And I've set up a little workflow for that. Like Telegram integrates really nicely with MCP servers and with Claude Code. So every time I find an interesting link, I share that to a dedicated Telegram bot, and my digital garden automatically ingests those links. The problem is that just a link is not telling me anything, right? So what I've written basically is an ingestion pipeline where, based on the link, we'll extract some metadata like the title of the website, a description which is generated, which I feel is fine by me because I'm reviewing it here and I can edit it. What Claude will also do is go through my collection of tags that I have already, reuse any of the tags that might be applicable, and also add new ones, which are also there for me to review. Like multi-species for me is like, well, no, that's not an appropriate tag. But things like art-based research and speculative practice, they kind of trigger a little bit of kind of curiosity on my side. So I'll definitely leave those there so I can also use them for future research. Themes is another thing that's extracted based on the tags and the triples that you can see here. Claude will automatically kind of propose themes. I'm not quite sure yet what I want to do with those. So they're not editable yet because they don't have a place in my garden yet. They're just for, review, like, hey, is this useful for me? And that's what I love. Kind of, I've built like proper ontologies way back in the 2000s, I think, with OWL and RDF. And I realized that you need that kind of very strict structure to make it work as a formal knowledge model. However, my head doesn't work like that. So I'm kind of stepping away from formal ontologies, although later, as I'll show you, triples are still very much kind of, they're definitely controlled vocab. Just to allow for a little bit of wandering, a little bit of, of these little vines in the garden that just go anywhere. And at a certain point, you probably think like, oh, I need to weed them out again. But for the time being, they're fine. Let's see what germinates. So yeah, we've got tags, themes, and here triples. Triples are basically, you can see it here, subject, predicate, object. So not only are we connecting entities or nouns with each other, we're also naming the relationship that binds them. So, for instance, art-based research, apparently, according to this book, counters anthropocentrism, which, of course, again, I'm like, this is so cool because bacteria to AI. Um, and a book that I'm reading at the moment is just about that. I mean, we all anthropomorphize, but to anthropo-center, that's the real culprit. Like giving us like a privileged position in an ecosystem that's made up of equals, each with their own umwelt, their own way of sensing their surroundings. That's a little bit, problematic. So this already is like, oh, cool. So as you can see, yes, I'm doing the structure and the review, but at the same time, my head is going like, oh, cool, cool, cool. I need to dive into this more. Um, so these triples, I can either say approve them or get rid of them if there's a lot of them. And these all go into my graph, which I'm also still working on. But for now, I'm fine with all the metadata here. I click update and recommit because this one has already been published, but I'll just do it again. So what happens now is that this little card will end up as a weblink card in my garden. And I'm not sure whether it will be there already because I might need to commit this to my repo first because this whole dashboard is working locally. Oh, there we go. It's there already. Oh my gosh. Um, Interesting because now we have a very long description, which might actually be okay. But then we need to do something about the layout. So whenever you see a web link here, it's not just me sharing and publishing, it's me actually reviewing what's in there, deciding, hey, do I need to read up on this? Do I want to perhaps write about this? In that case, I'll create a what I call a seed card. These ones, these are all kind of ideas in the making. And that's how external knowledge kind of flows into the garden. Um, so I'm doing that for my links that I share through Telegram. I also have a similar pipeline for my own content, just to review anything that gets assigned automatically. I want to see like, hey, what is it doing there? So here too, you can see here's the actual article that I wrote. This is what Claude suggests: themes, tags, and topics. As you can see, the themes here are editable. So that's, I guess, me vibe coding and not being consistent throughout each interface. That's definitely not by design, but just me being me. But because I use it all the time, I can also think like, hey, do I need these themes? Do I need to have them editable? And if I do, make a decision, a design decision, I can just tell Claude, say, hey, these dashboards work on the same principles, harmonize them or not. And Claude will actually check like, hey, are some of these differences deliberate, yes or no? So this is how I love using Gen AI, not to talk with it, but to design with it. So I get views, literal views and metaphorical ones on my thoughts and ideas and what I want to work on. Um, Future developments here is a write tab, which is basically just a scratch pad where I can do quick jottings that don't have a formal status in the garden yet, but just, a quick kind of note taking thingamy. Evals are not there yet, but I am working on a chatbot. And obviously, when you're running a chatbot, you want to make sure that the quality is consistent. So I'm working on basically my ideal conversation log analysis dashboard. Pipeline will be an interactive view on the actual architecture that's running underneath, so I can explain it more easily to the outside world. And KPI, do I have KPI? I don't know how this ended up here. This might Claude be kind of telling me to, stay accountable and make sure that everything contributes to a certain goal, which is interesting, of course, because what are my KPIs? My KPIs are definitely around, hey, has critical thinking been applied? How much of the content has been reviewed by Maaike? How much of the content has been actually written by Maaike? And what's the ratio between Maaike writing and Maaike tinkering with Claude Code? Because to be honest, I think that's the real danger of working with Gen AI, that you really need to carve out time for conscious thought, writing, reading. That's what I do in the mornings. I take at least an hour to sit with a physical book with physical pages where I take physical notes with a pen. Um, And I must say that I think I wrote about this also. Like, hey, weeding the garden is basically making sure that AI stays out of that sacred space. So it might well be that you're not even looking at the garden here, but everything that surrounds the one thing that is so truly personal and so truly knowledge work, that there's only one way of sharing that, and that's actually by meeting you and talking about it, possibly in a real garden. But for now, I must say I'm a bit ambivalent in this whole Gen AI thing because I love designing these dashboards and the garden, and it's what I've been doing all my life. You know, all the way when I started with GeoCities and hand coding my HTML. I mean, CSS didn't even exist. And then, moving on to platforms like Blogger and Nucleus. I still know some of the bloggers from that time, GeoCities. So for me, this feels like a very natural extension of doing the work. And at the same time, honestly, I get like this red mist in front of my eyes when I see generated content. And I'm like, oh, where is this heading? So these cracks of where fascinating and meaningful friction arises, that's what fascinates me right now the most, and what I love exploring. Yeah, so I guess I'll just go and continue doing that and keep you posted with more dispatches from the garden, I guess. For now, I'm off into the real world, enjoying the sunshine and celebrating my weekend. Hope you're doing the same. Groetjes, talk soon. No, not that one. It's this one. Bye.